She's talking me up. What's he doing?
Getting back to you.
Brad. That's all I want to hear. I started with some rain just because I was like, people will be like, whoa, there's something going on.
It's the whole presentation's a video, is it?
Video, pictures. I stayed up all night on it. It was like a school project, so it's hard to see. I was hoping that we'd have a better picture to show you. So I don't know if we get closer or we can close that, but it's pretty washed out.
There's a laser pointer.
Oh, just press start, dude.
Yeah, there's a laser pointer there if you want to point at the screen at any time.
If there was a cat here, I'd take that in a second, but nah. Well, anyway, so we've just had like all this Lenina and stuff. My name's Donovan Teal. I live out near Yukai on a bush block. There's me being all contemplation before work. I work in bush regen. This is my boss here, Sam. He's a nice little scientist to hang out with. We certainly learn a lot each day working. So it's all cool stuff all over this tree. You guys are missing it. But anyway, we're big tree fans. We do a lot of work protecting trees, planting trees and stuff. But in this area, we do a ton of weed control. And we take out all sorts of weeds. These are the birdwing butterflies. We're pretty biased in our love of these little creatures, and a lot of people plant the birdwing butterfly vines, which is awesome. We're really seeing them sort of come back. Unfortunately, there's a new vine out called moth vine, and these guys lay their eggs on it, or girls, and the caterpillars can't make it all the way to adulthood, so they just starve and die on the vine, which sucks, right? So we are, a little saying, you mess with the butterfly, you get the gly. There are so many weeds here that while we all wish we could hand weed everything, we do use a whole range of chemicals. You would be surprised at how tough some of these animals are, plants. People think you can just round up them. No, there's it's pretty full on, and it's great having, learning all the weaknesses of all these particular weeds, because if you're not there to knock them down, the natives can just never recover. We're all about bringing back the big scrub, and it just doesn't grow fast enough. Like, we're just getting swamped with stuff. This is in the backyard, there's a male chasing a female birdwing butterfly. This is another emerging threat. So this is a new weed I want to talk about. It's called silverleaf. It's a Desmodia sort of vine, but it's got all these little Velcro hooks on it, and that was a female birdwing butterfly that had gotten trapped on the vine. It was going to sit there and starve. So this is a bit of science. The little blue dot is this Desmodium. So this is silverleaf that we're talking about, and here it's captured a moth. So unfortunately you can't really see that, but that's a whole heap of different types of caterpillar. It doesn't just catch moths, it catches caterpillars. And once an animal's stuck on there, a whole heap more little things. I don't know if you can see any of them, but once something is stuck on there, that's it. It's dead. And you can see down the bottom there's a heap of predators like spiders, there's scorpion flies, there's mites. This is a baby assassin bug. These are all really important predator insects for your garden to take care of any sort of like aphids, grasshoppers, anything that's going to eat your garden. These bugs are going to get. This is a super tough bug. It's a large paper wasp. Generally this is something that you don't get up nice and close to it, but it's velcroed down. It can't do anything. It's just slowly starving to death. This vine, this is a dead bit of this vine, right? So even when it's dead, it's still slaughtering our bugs. Sort of like a ghost net. If you like ladybugs, this vine is doing a real number on our local ladybugs, and a lot of them are fungus eaters. So all the blight and stuff.
Try to save that one too.
When you pull them off, you're going to pull off their legs, you're going to, what do? If you leave all your different types of ladybugs sitting there, I mean, they're getting attracted by little food animals. This is a big stick insect. Yeah, that was a sick photo of a beetle. I don't know if you can see it. But, so these are all netwing beetles, and it's nothing around here to see whole hillsides covered in this weed. It tends to scramble up and grow on top of stuff. These are little blade beetles. And on a single vine, I might find 20 bugs, and those bugs are just sitting there drawing more bugs in. So a lot of people don't even realise that they have these things like the moth vines, like the Velcro vines, that are really impacting the wildlife that they have in their area. And it's good if you have a block and you want to sort of like bring it back, get all these native animals in there, and know that they're doing well and not just getting killed by plants and little ferals. It's good to get some sort of bush regen or land care team in, and they'll be able to tell you what weeds you've got. This one here was an ant that was infected with a fungi, so it was going to die anyway, but it was stuck there. And we see a lot of these guys in this area because we have such biodiversity. So you can often tell if there's a plant and then the animal eats the plant, and then a fungi eats the animal, and then another fungi eats the fungi eating the animal. You can really see the sort of diversity you have in your environment. And these plant-eating fungi, I see them everywhere. We have a hell of a hotspot here, and global. We in many ways we outdo the Amazon. People in Thailand trying to brag. I'm like, you guys strong, right? Like this one here's supported in a little bubble of water, and some of these things will last for a long time. I've watched samples of these as they grow and then go in dormant when it's dry and then grow again. That one there's over 5 months old. So it's not like a mushroom where you see it one day and then it's gone the next. These little ants, they're once they're controlled by the fungi, they're out to go bite into a little twig. It's sort of what the fungi is controlling them, as a little meat suit. But you find with these guys that what's a twig and what's not a twig is completely subjective. It's possible to see that. That's actually a palm tree that one bit into, a rather large one. This one here, on the other hand, was biting into a palm frond. So they're wired to go after the twigs. And if you're only looking on twigs for these guys, you would miss half of them. Like the book's kind of need to be rewritten for around Yukai. This one here was actually on a leaf, on a plant, nice little green leaf. So fresh little stalk coming up, and that'll then fruit into the thing. This is a wasp on a leaf, so get them a lot on twigs, get a lot on leaves. And this is a fly. Pretty much any host which doesn't have isn't warm-blooded is going to get nailed by these guys. Most of these little guys here are spiders. That was like in a little sort of curled bit of a leaf. You really got to be going slow to sort of spot these guys. Like most people are surrounded by them, they'll never see one in their life. Even if it's small, and you have to look carefully, that doesn't mean that you're not also going to miss a big one right in front of you. Humans are pretty fungal blind. It's kind of weird for me walking around and being like, there's one, and pointing it out to people, and they're like, it's on a pot plant on their veranda and they've been looking at it for months. Once you can sort of be chill in the bush, I suppose, you'll start noticing all these little things. And for me, that's involved getting to know all the bugs and stuff in the rainforest. There's not much that I can't give you a sort of my little 2 bits on what it feels like to get bitten by it or stung by it or irritated by its hairs or something. But most wildlife out there, it's not out there to get you, even if it can. It's all pretty chill. So you get a little bit of zen about you and get out there. It's gambling, right? Like not every leaf you flip over is going to have a spider with all tentacles growing out of its brain like that one. That was a sick photo, by the way. I will try and chuck this up on YouTube with the thing if you want to be able to zoom in on the macros, because it's pretty, I don't know, can be a little bit brutal to see up close, I suppose. Usually I'm out there sort of missioning around, either by myself or with my zombie hunter girlfriend, Jade. And she lets me film a lot of her finds, which is lucky, because we sort of pretty much at this point finding about the same amount as each other, and seeing some stuff. A lot of the stuff that we're finding, this is like hyperparasites, so fungi growing on top of fungi. A lot of this is my work machetes and stuff painted fluoro pink, so we don't lose them. Pretty good common bush regen trick. Lucky scientist boss, right? So I get to stop when I'm taking photos. These particular ones here are camphor laurel leaves, right? So anything that's on like a camphor laurel or a devil's fig or a lantana or something, we're chopping it down anyway, right? So it's going on the ground, and a lot of the time I'll collect samples off them. This particular one here, we've sent off to a lab. If it's on a native species, I'll usually just take a photo. And the big thing is about picking these, is a case in point of knowing your spiders, right? So because I knew that spider, I could actually tell what spider was infected there when you find it later. And this is one of my favourite spiders, a little red archie. It's kind of hard to see there. Another example of it. But once you know your sort of all your bugs when they're live, you can tell what they're like when they're dead. So usually I'm with my girlfriend. I did actually get to take a documentary film crew on a little bit of a zombie hunt. So they're releasing a documentary called Follow the Rain. This is a Planet Fungi crew who work with David Attenborough and stuff. So all of this photography you're seeing here, this little zoom in of a zombie spider, I'm doing on a little Olympus TG6. Like this is the first time the tripod's getting used, so it's a little bit wobbly and stuff. Having a camera on hand all the time to record stuff lets you sort of look back at your stuff and work out, that red spider isn't always the same red spider. Up there was just the little crowdfunder for the Planet Fungi movie. They're almost completely funded. I think they're down to like 20k or something. So if you're an angel investor and you want to get your name up there, check out the Planet Fungi crew. It's going to be a good film. Lots of time lapse of fungi growing if you want to see that sort of stuff. It should be out soon. I think it's going to be like a Netflixy sort of thing. So that was kind of rad, getting to hang out with the people who have like the proper camera gear. None of those guys are like mucking around. Their lens is worth more than everything I have. So this is another hyperparasite, but hard to see. So just as there's dozens of these creatures, different species of things that are eating spiders and ants and all that sort of stuff, there's just as many of these fungi that in turn hunt upon spiders and insects and stuff. And this is a nice little yellow one there. It's hard to tell actually if that is actually the fungi, the gibberella, eating a spider, or if it is a fungi eating another one. So they're nice sort of bright yellow ones and stuff. But the hyperparasites are sort of right. We've only just been studying these meat-eating fungi, so there's not much known about the fungi that eat the meat-eating fungi. And the more we learn, the more complicated it gets. They seem to be ones that can live for 6-7 months or something. They can survive our drought, flood cycle sort of thing. This is one of my favourite finds. So once again, a little bit tricky to see, but this is a spider, but it kind of looked a little bit like a scorpion, had the big twin tails coming up. These spiders would normally be very good at hiding, but they've been put in that position by the fungi, moving them around, manipulating their behaviour, getting into their brain. So even though it's right there in your face, it's so obvious to see when you see it on screen. It's amazing how many times I walked past that before I looked up and saw the bright yellow zombie spider thing. Yeah. These are plant hoppers, so there's we call them torpedo bugs, very, very common, and this is one that's been infested. So lots of them on the leaves, lots of them on the little twigs and stuff. And this is a really interesting hyperparasite. We collected this one off a camphor laurel leaf, and we had it there, so it's a fungi eating another fungi that's eating a spider, and we noticed these insects hatching out of it. So they were also eating the spider while the fungi was eating the spider and getting eaten by the other fungi. A lot can be going on when you flip over a leaf and you find a little crime scene and you're trying to work out actually who did it. I also find them on branches. This is another type of ant zombie. So these ones are, I say zombie, it's like the wrong word. They're more like mummies, really preserved. They don't come back to life when the fungi wipes them, I suppose is the thing. So we also find them on tree trunks, right? So they're not on if they're not on the twigs and they're not on the leaves, they're not on the branches, probably on the trunks. This was a really cool one to find because there was actually 3 in a row. Healthy caterpillar, pupating caterpillar, and its chrysalis, and then there was one that was actually being hunted by a nice fungi. So the density of these can be quite strong, and all of these fungi have applications that we could possibly use in greenhouses and stuff. If you don't like chemicals, I don't like insecticides. I use a lot of herbicides in my job because it's the only way to give the natives a chance. But I would much prefer infest any sort of problem bug with a hideous thing like that. They'd use a can of bacon. So there's a red and black spider on my leg. I mean, in the jungle, you're going to be covered in things crawling all over you, and once you know what's harmful and what's not, you can just ignore them and spot the awesome entomopathogenic fungi-eating bugs and stuff on the tree. So being able to be relaxed and stuff in the forest is a skill. Obviously, you want to spray yourself with some mozzie spray or something. I'm not saying being chill, but about everything. But a little bit of zen. Don't freak out if something touches you. You'll never see anything. Be too worried about snakes. So these are some cordyceps tenupes, like the last of us fungi. And these are in rotted logs on the ground. So it doesn't matter if the tree's alive and standing. If it's fallen over, it'll still get colonised by these. And then if they're not on a log, they'll just be in the dirt, right? So these are some cicadas trying to pupate on a bank beside the creek, beside the driveway. And they're getting monstered by the cordyceps fungi there. The big moths. I love the big moths because they're just easy to see. You'd think, they just look like a leaf, to be honest. Even the really big ones, I'm like, wow. So surprised I actually saw that. I do make a lot of friends out there. There's little leeches and stuff, but it's pretty zen getting out there and looking for these fungi, especially when you're not collecting anything, you're just getting photos. This is Jade, and she's found this big stick insect. So sometimes they can be quite large. A lot of the ones you've just seen, some of them are less than 1 millimetre long, little tiny microfungi, right? So this is a paper on this palm seed fungi, penicillium type of fungi that grows on the palm seeds. It's one of my favourite ones, and I couldn't find much about it. I read up about it. It's described by this team of scientists, but they included a guy called Roger Chavez, who has where am I? He is a mycology professor. Couldn't remember that word. Anyway, I sent samples to him, and he tested them, and he found a different penicillium on them and named them after me. So this is the journal publication, Penicillium tealii, which I was pretty stoked about. Like, thank you. And then I got interviewed by ABC Radio, which was pretty rad. I got to talk to Hannah Ross. Then I woke up and there was all these articles on the internet about me, including that one's pretty happy. And then I got to meet Madeline Murray from the Tweed Weekly, and I got myself in the newspaper, so I got like a little... it was a good little whirlwind of fame, to be honest, and a really sort of... it was a wholesome 5 minutes of fame. You never know what your 5 minutes of fame is going to be, so I was pretty pumped with that one, and it all went well. I do get hit up a lot about dangers out there and stuff. This is some of the dingoes that I spotted on the property, but they're usually pretty chill. I'm pretty pro dingo. I don't really think there's any wild dogs really around. But this is the big danger I wanted to show, and I hope you can kind of make it out. There's heaps of spiders out there, right? And this is the one you've got to be a little bit careful around. These are all the little spider trip webs from the funnel webs. Now we've got funnel webs on trees and stuff, which you've got to watch out for, but generally they're on the ground like this, and I find most people, they see a hole in the ground and they're like, it's a trapdoor. Like, it's a funnel web. Like, no, it's a Nemea species, right? Like, there's so many primitive spiders in Australia. We're really lucky that they've all somehow managed to survive alongside the modern spiders, but most of them are not medically significant. They all look the same. They're all shiny and black and terrifying. But the ones you've got to look out for are these funnel webs. And sometimes, like, this is a mushroom, and there's a weird little entomopathogenic bug down there. But there was funnel webs all over it. That was as close as I could get. So some things remain mysteries just because choose life, right? Like, these things come out of their burrow and they bite and they get back in like 0.4 of a second. Like, you'll think you got bitten by a spider, but you won't. It'll be like subconscious. This is what we should have everywhere. Is my amigo Tizzy on the spider group's made that up for us. So if you're in there and you start noticing, that you've got these little trip webs and stuff, just get out of there, right? There's nothing more embarrassing than dying over an average mushroom photo or something. I do see a lot of bugs that bite. So these are the assassin bugs. This one here's bright red and black. You can't really tell, but a lot of them will warn you that they can get you. This is a baby assassin bug. So it's only tiny. So even after being done by these guys, like a big brown one, it was pretty exquisite. I still can't help but like him, and he's rubbing his hands and stuff. I'll look sick later. We need a darker tent. So, jumping ants, I mean, they hate everyone, they'll bite you. But the rest of the time, things like wasps, if they land on you and you just chill, it's going to fly away, all right? I'm pretty pro-wasp as well. I find most people seem to hate wasps, but don't necessarily go picking them up like this because, you know, you're going to get stung eventually. But a lot of the time, just because wildlife can get you doesn't mean it's going to. And if you just move slow, or I don't know, put your hands up, goes onto a flower or something. I was finding these really cool native bees. I saw the native bee stand down there and they had the little glass tubes with the dried out bees, and I was like, it's my windowsill again. So I was like, man, I keep dying on the windowsill. I'm going to try and do a rescue. So something that I found is I could actually just put my finger to it and it would fly onto my finger rather than chasing it around the house. And I could just walk it out into the backyard. Now, I'm not telling, don't do what I'm doing, right? But most of our wildlife, even if it can sting and bite you, honestly, unless you're trying to grab it or squash it or you know, accidentally sort of, it's on its nest and it's aggressive or something, most of the time you can be chill and just enjoy those moments with it. We have so many bugs here. I've been, for the last 3 years, I've recorded at least one new bug to me every day. At least one new one, not running out. Like, I don't know. Occasionally I post them up on the UK group, Facebook group, so if everyone sees some random local bugs and stuff. This one here was Mark II, different type of bee that I did, and I sussed out with this one, if I actually wet my finger, was having a little drink while I was carrying it outside. I was like, Dr. Doolittle, right? It's all happening. More wasps and stuff. Pretty much from now on, it's just going to be footage of nice things from my backyard. I thought, after all the creatures stuck starving to death on the silverleaf, and you know, deserve some nice things. There's flower wasps. I don't know if you've seen flower wasps before. The female is flightless and the males fly around, collect nectar, and then they feed the girls while they mate and then drop them off. And yeah, random little wasps, right? Like, they're just trippy as, and sometimes something will look like a wasp and you got to get like right in close, and then you wait a minute, you're just a fly or something, right? Like pretending to be a wasp. And that's pretty much everything around here is a mimic. All right, like if you see something, you can be pretty guaranteed there's 5 other things that look exactly the same, and one of them will be a beetle, one of them will be a wasp, and one of them will be a moth. So lots of mimicry, especially if something tastes gross, you know, like a lysid beetle. You'll always get heaps of them out there. Tiny little bugs. That's a little red velvet beetle eating fungi and stuff. And I see a lot of, to make up for all the dead ladybugs, there's a whole lot of steel blue ones all huddling together. And there's just a little, tiny little beetle eating slime mold. So it's a little brown beetle. I mean, it's not as pretty as the other ones, but I posted that up to a couple of bug scientists. They had no idea what it was. This is the lantana getting wrecked by these cool little beetles, the little lantana beetles, which I love and introduced by the DPI, unlike the silverleaf, which was also introduced for and caused epic drama. But even all the wildlife, so that's another one, those little archies, and there's one eating a jumping ant. And all our cool little spiders. We have so many cool spiders. Everyone always talks crap on Australian spiders, but we got the prettiest spiders of all, really. Right? I wanted to show some bugs and stuff, but as the previous speaker said, half an hour's not enough. Yeah, you need like an hour. Like, I had to cut grasshoppers. I found like weird new centipedes and stuff. We had glow-in-the-dark mushies. Ugh, there was all sorts of stuff. But,
Do you
yeah.
you post things on YouTube?
Of course, yes.
Great.
We've got 5 minutes for questions, and then after that, the demo tent, you'll be over there. Anyone who's got more questions can speak.
I can see it on the laptop maybe, or
Yeah, and see it on
Yeah,
the
if he wants to
laptop.
copy the file across, I just need to grab the USB back.
And
So-
I just want to, before you start your questions, I want to ask Courtney Castles to please come down and get ready with your USB, which people put in for you, and I'll introduce her then. So 5 minutes for questions, usually about 3 questions.
Okay, good, you guys. Yo.
what do you do for scrubbage?
Scrubbage. Ah, gosh. All right. So it's kind of hard to know most of the time if I've actually got a bit of a rash around my belt and stuff from baby mites, or if it's just because I've sprayed 10 times the recommended amount of bug repellent. Hot shower and soap. The first chance you get hot water and soap, just scrub it off. There's not much you can do. If you're going into this beautiful bloody rainforest, unfortunately certain times of years, we just have so many cool mites. Ugh. Velvet worm floating on a mucus raft. Did you know they could go down the creeks? Mental. Anyway. Yes.
Have you got a website or something?
Not yet, but I'm working on one. I don't know.
Great
It's
information.
True.
To see
Thank you,
what
sir.
to be able to get.
Are you using any specialist camera equipment? What are you taking?
No, this is it. This is all I use. So it's a Olympus TG6. It's a little compact digital. I've got 4 times zoom. So if you see a close-up picture of something, you know I'm in its mouth, right? Like I get in close. There's no people are like, you don't think that thing's gonna bite you? You're like, hopefully not again today. But that thing, I'm just lucky they like looking at their picture and the reflection, the spiders, right? So you can get in close and anything that's like that. Yep.
Have you noticed there's a lack of insects around?
Yeah, silverleaf is killing them all. Find it on your property, rip it out, burn it. Poison its roots. I don't know, whatever we got to do. But yeah, in this area, there's lots of threats to our wildlife. And I mean, you go into Bunnings, all you can buy is curl grub poison and shit. What are you doing, people? Don't take out those things. Yeah, most animals we have in this area that are a pest are only a pest at one stage of their life. And they're often beneficial for the rest of it, and the problem is we get hung up on, I don't know. I was watching when the monolithoids beetles came back, and there was people with backpacks with chemicals just spraying them. I'm like, they're going to be gone tomorrow. But no, people just have to kill them, eh? There's a...
Yep. 2 quick questions. Is silverleaf the same as Velcro vine?
It is indeed. Desmodium. Yeah.
And are the bug-eating fungi always cordyceps, or is cordyceps?
Oh no,
just one
most of those weren't cordyceps. So there's lots of different genus. I've usually find around about a dozen in this area. But you have cordyceps, orpheocordyceps, metahysiums, all different types of hirstulers and stuff. Yeah, there's heaps. It's great. There's no way for me to describe what they look like to you because they're so different. This is great timing.
That stinks so bad.
We're in a stinkhorn forest here. Sorry, they spread their spores with flies by smelling like death. But yeah, Lazarus, you got to get to the goanna fight. Surely, we've got time. I only had it on 30. Yes, so, I mean, anyone who lives in this area, I don't know if you've had to move carpet stakes, this is just day-to-day stuff, right? Have a camera, record, and if you can find rare wildlife, you can restore your little bush block, and then you can explore it and find all this cool stuff, record it, and I'll never be able to chop your place down, right? Get these pictures of these things that don't usually get seen by anyone, and I don't know, jump on iNaturalist and put a thumbtack on your location, and you're safe. Yo. The DPI brought it in as a fodder for cattle during the drought, but it has little tiny hairs all over the seeds and the stem, tangles up the bugs. They can't move, they starve to death, but they draw in other bugs. And then they get stuck on it, or things come in to pollinate it, and they get stuck on it, or the seeds fall down on the ground and land on trails, and bugs get stuck on it. Even sometimes you'll see things like possums and stuff, and they're covered in it, and just horrible weed. Well worth getting in a bush regen team. Just even just getting in a guide just to look at your place and show you what your awesome trees and plants are to protect, and pointing out what's a weed, because half the places we go to, people don't know their weeds. They're their whole property's covered in cat's claw, and they're like, I love the vines, it's all tropical, and you're like, I got some terrible news, I'm sorry guys. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Rocket. There's a trick fight behind you.
Rebecca.